A recurring motif in Michael Bedard's work is the depiction of artistic activity, the creation of new pieces of art. Bedard's two main paintings devoted to the painting process are Stage Fright and A Matter of Scale. He thereby takes up an old tradition in Western painting. In the 15th century, Rogier van der Weyden painted St. Luke drawing the Virgin, which allotted an outstanding role to artistic creativity, since the painter he depicted was an apostle and his model none other than the Virgin Mary. This picture served as a source of inspiration for many other artists. Over time, this religious scene developed into the studio scene. Albrecht Dürer's woodcuts of the 16th century show the draftsman creating a likeness of a model. The presentation of the drawing process itself takes on central importance. Dürer also focuses attention on the female nude in the studio, without any historical or mythological background to serve as a justification of her nakedness. The theme of the painter and his model, that highlights the importance of the artist, becomes more and more relevant. In Gustave Courbet's The Painter's Studio of 1855, the artist is surrounded by the nude model, who seems best interpreted as a muse and people from various groups in society. Thus, the artist stands here in the center of attention of all those present, and the process of painting is elevated to the status of something very special. In the paintings of other artists, these proudly show that they have achieved something outstanding. They never fail, they always manage to create pieces of art that can be admired. The artists paint themselves as proud, determined, successful, and important people. Sometimes they even look arrogant. Bedard's approach is a completely different one. In the painting Stage Fright, a small artist stands in front of a huge, empty canvas on a stage, with spectators observing him. The artist sits naked, which means unprotected, on a tiny horse, and holds an oversized brush in his hand. He confronts the easel, the way Don Quixote fought the windmills with his horse and lance. It is not clear if the artist will eventually succeed in creating something at all. The scene is illuminated by a single light bulb, positioned like the light bulb in Picasso's Guernica, but which has a completely different meaning. It symbolizes ideas and creativity, and sheds light on the artist and the still empty canvas. The view through the window shows a raging fire outside, in a dark, threatening environment, underscoring the precariousness of the situation. Stage Fright reflects the feelings of the artist, who is aware of the significance and weight of his task. Unlike the aforementioned work by Courbet, in which those present pay homage to and admire the painter, in Bedard's picture, the spectator's expectations oppress the artist, who seems to be intimidated by his task. A closer look at the painting reveals that all spectators look the same, and that they even look like the artist. In fact, they represent different aspects of the artist's personality that perform a self-critical analysis of the situation. We only see the spectators' heads. Bedard thus highlights the intellectual process of the creation of art. This is even accentuated by the pronounced forehead wrinkles that reflect an intense thought activity. Bedard's Stage Fright is everything but a self-glorification by the artist. It is a very honest painting that shows that the creative process in art is not a clear-cut path with a well-defined endpoint. It reminds one of Bedard's painting Crossroads, in which the duck has different opportunities and thinks about the path to follow. The end is open. If we were able to look into the next steps of the depicted scene, we would see what is going to be created by the small person on the tiny horse. It could be one of Bedard's signature duck paintings that combine humor and fragility, in which the ducks are surrogates for humans. Or it It could lead to one of Bedard's mystic landscapes, in which nature and human construction compete with and complement each other. Or it could result in a painting like Angelica, Why Women Love Horses, in which Bedard shows the joy of riding and interacting with horses. These are three potential, completely different end results, all of them originating from the same empty canvas. Bedard's second main painting on the artistic process is A Matter of Scale. While Stage Fright shows a big canvas that represents a huge task, in this painting, by contrast, we find an extremely small canvas. The artist faces the difficult challenge of reproducing a large figure on a small canvas. Here, once more, the canvas is empty. Bedard's pictures of the painter in his studio should be viewed against the art historical background. It is conspicuous that his works contain the image of an empty canvas. This means that Bedard is not concerned with representing the technical process of painting. He wants to show the creative phase in which the idea for the painting ripens. This is similar to Jan Vermeer's painting The Artist's Studio of 1666. Here the painter is painting a girl who is apparently serving as a model for the muse of history, Cleo. This work too does not present the handicraft of painting, but the painter's contemplation of a creative treatment of the motif, like in Bedard's paintings. In the picture, Vermeer underscores that painting proceeds primarily as an intellectual process that precedes the technical work stages. Therefore, this piece is also known as the allegory of painting. In A Matter of Scale, the woman has traits resembling those of Picasso's figures and thus represents something great and grand. The size of the woman's body thereby reflects her inner greatness, that is, the value of the object to be depicted. In fact, Bedard does not want to depict an artist painting a nude model. It goes far beyond that. The female figure represents an iconic image, the mystique of womanhood. It is an ode to the woman who has inspired men over centuries to create paintings, music, poems, and books. Bedard wants to portray the magnificence of woman for men, and how men try to capture this beauty and importance in created images. Bedard leaves it up to the viewer to decide whether the artist in the picture will succeed in creating an adequate representation or if he will fail due to the scale or magnitude of the work. Knowing that the intellectual process is the relevant aspect for Bedard, it can be explained why his paintings do not have a well-defined but open end, as the outcome of the creative process itself is always uncertain. Dinner Date is the only genre painting in Bedard's oeuvre. Genre paintings are realistic representations from everyday life with anonymous figures. They were very common in the Dutch art of the 17th century. The peasant genre painting shows farmers' homes or taverns with rustic interiors, all reduced to brownish tones. In contrast to historical painting, the point here is not to depict special historical, religious, or mythological events, but rather normal situations. One speaks of the magic of the everyday, and thereby means the unspectacular events in the lives of individuals. Even the dimensions of Bedard's little picture stand in the tradition of its models, the usually small-format Dutch genre paintings of the 17th century. But unlike these, the mood of the brownish tavern piece is different. The actual theme and the tension in the picture are provided by the sitting figure's expectant stance and his staring at the figure who will soon enter the room. The full glass of wine and plate on the table reveal that another person is expected, but the viewer sees nothing of this figure except his shadow, and thus cannot identify him. One recalls that important events are often foreshadowed, and that crime films often show only the shadow of the villain, in order to conceal his identity. The alert rooster at the door stares at the shadow. and it is not clear whether the grinning mask on the wall represents the joy of seeing the entering figure again or malicious glee at the possibly unpleasant scene soon to play out. The crossed arms of the figure at the table seem to indicate a defensive stance. It remains open whether the mask's joy is a projection of the sitting figure's wishes or thoughts, just as the small masks in stage fright reflect the thoughts and inner feelings. At any rate, unlike earlier genre painters, Bedard does not show the viewer what exactly is or will be going on in the scene. There are more questions than answers. Precisely this is the magic of the picture. And precisely this is one of the characteristics of Bedard's unique art.